It is Saturday morning and I've accrued a little bit of garage time, so time to get going in the next episode of the 200 Challenge, where we so far found 271 documented kilos off of my 964. Really good. This time it's pedal booster, and we're going to look a little bit more at the cockpit. Last time around we were looking at the display and those things. This time it's what we touch and what we feel. Pedals, steering wheel. Let's have a look at it. Okay, so this episode is about pedal boxes and other stuff, right? So why on earth are we going to bother with this? We're going to start with pedals, and we're inevitably going to end up with pedals as well. But there's difference between pedal boxes and pedal boxes, I can tell you that. One of the reasons why I really have to do something with this is that the intake I have that we built in one of the previous episodes here, it has an electronic throttle, right? So this one will need a signal from the pedal so that it can do the right things, and the original setup in the 964 is a cable and it's mechanic here. So I need to fix that somehow. At the same time, I'm going to try to fix a few other things. So this is the original pedal box from 964. Very standard, typical, well-built unit, of course. It's Porsche. You have your accelerator pedal here, and this one then pulls a cable that goes all the way back in the car, all the way to the engine. To convert this from cable to an electronic pedal is actually very easy. You buy one of this, a 996 pedal, you strap it here, and you get it to work, and then you have the electric connector here. So I could solve my problem doing this. However, I won't get away from this kind of technology, and I won't achieve the things that I really want to do. Before we get into the new, let's have a look at this one to understand the old technology before we get into the new one. So, looking at this pedal box, we looked at the accelerator. Of course, you have the brake here. The brake is really simple. It just actuates this arm here. And that arm then sits attached to this beast here, which is the master cylinder. My car used to be a C4. And on the C4, the turbo and the RS, it has a hydraulic booster unit here before you get to the master cylinder. So the master cylinder here actuates the front circuit, and the rear circuit goes through the ABS and then out to all of the wheels. Then this booster circuit is actuated by a little accumulator. It looks like a little bomb in the front there, and then you have a big pump that makes this whirring sound as soon as you start the engine before you crank it. So this is a rather sophisticated piece. It is very heavy, together with the pump, together with the accumulator. So, going to see what we can do with this. Then what you have on the pedal box is, of course, the clutch. The clutch actuates this master cylinder that sits here, and that goes all the way back to the slave cylinder in the clutch. Very standard, good-looking unit, works well. So there's alternatives, of course. This is what I'm going to use in mine. This is an AP Racing CP 5500. It's a complete pedal box that has the position sensor in it. It also has dual master cylinders. So, what you in the old setup have up here, in the new setup, sits here. And rather than the two cylinders sitting in serial, having exactly the same ratio all the time, because they're in serial, they actually sit in parallel here. So, up close, we see that we simply just have the two cylinders in parallel. When I push here, we actuate both of them at the same time. We see that they're different in size. This is for the front circuit, this is for the rear circuit, and you can pick whatever size you feel fits for your car. Then we have this little bias bar here that I can turn. I'll show you exactly how that works in a second here. And as you turn this one, you change the geometry, so you push force forward or force back, and it can be things such as a rainy day. Maybe you want to have a little bit more on the front wheels rather than the rear wheels, so you will push the bar a little bit this direction. Maybe the car is completely empty of fuel. Maybe you want to push a little bit back and so on. So you can really adjust that. Let's have a look at this bar a little bit in detail. And this is how the brake bias works. So you have one of this up on dash, and it has clicks. So as you click this one, it actually turns over here. You can see it turns there. And what this does is it moves the pivot point on the inside here, so it actually changes the lever arm length. So as you push the pedal, you get different force on the two sides, just with a simple click of a dial like that. Other neat thing with this particular pedal box is that it has the position sensors that are integrated directly into the pedal. It's not like on a separate bracket like some of the others have. So this is good engineering. Really like this. Other things, of course, is that you can adjust the pedals, where they sit, forward, back, and so on. So you adjust it to your body and your field. Now with this, let's figure out how we actually get this into that. This is how the original pedal box looks. It sits really neatly here. You have these little bolt holes there that attaches to the body and holds the pedal in place. You can see this here is the place where it goes up to this little hole here. So that's where the master cylinder meets this system. You have a little tube that comes in here. This tube actually runs the throttle cable. So it's not terribly easy to get something in the place of this one because this is really cramped in there and there's not a lot of excessive space. So let's take this out and let's figure out how we get the new one in. What I did as a first step is I just took the measurements off of the 3D scan I've done of the car in one of the previous episodes, and I created a little plate here out of plastic just so that I get a flat surface to kind of start from. As I put the new pedal box in there, we see that it is really snug. That's not exactly how it's going to sit. We see that it needs to go a little bit this way, and we see that this throttle tube there is completely in the way, so we need to get rid of that one. Another thing that you see is in the very back, it is very, very tight on space in the back. And the reason I picked this particular pedal box is that the back of it goes up very quickly. The master cylinders sit a little bit higher up, and that makes it more suitable for this particular car. Let's cut that throttle tube away, because without getting rid of that one, we won't be able to fit the pedal box. I'm going to take that out, give it another shot. So I've taken the throttle tube out, I've taken the front piece out, and I've measured and realized that it needs to sit just there if the pedal position is going to be the same as the original one. I can still move these back and forward in whatever way I want, so I still have some good adjustability, but this is kind of my starting position. A little bit of design and a little bit of print. I have now a template. It has the original mounting holes for the car, and then we have the pedal box, and I've added 2 more in the bottom because as this one now doesn't have a brake booster, all of the force is actually going to go through the floor, and that's more than what you have if you have the rod going up there. So I'll need to reinforce this. I'm also going to do some seam welding in the bottom of the spot welded pieces there to really make sure it's really super stiff. Let's put this on top of that and put that into the car. Okay, so this is moment of truth. Let's put it in there, see if we can make it fit. Okay, I've been looking at this for a while now, and I think it looks pretty good. Position lines up with how the previous pedal box was, and there's not a lot of room to play here unless you want to change the complete thing completely around. I can see, although this is plastic, it already gives away that there's no way this is going to get stiff enough without additional reinforcements. So these 2 extra holes that I made here, I'm going to use those, and I'm going to make a distance piece in the bottom here so that I can really tie this all the way down to the floor and put a big washer below it so that it really gets as stiff as it possibly could. Other than that, I think it looks good. When I put the old pedal box in front of it and line this up with the old holes, I can see that I have actually lined it up almost exactly like the old pedal box was, and I'm also at the same level here. I can still, though, if I want, adjust this up and down. I could go a little bit more that direction if I wanted to. I don't know if I need to. But all in all, I think this is pretty good. Now that the pedal box is in place and it's found its proper home, let's have a look at what's going to go in the other side of the pedal box. Very typical setup with dual master cylinders is that it goes straight out to the calipers. There's no ABS in between. In my setup, I'm going to have an ABS in between like you have in a lot of race cars. The reason for this is I still want the safety of the ABS. I still want to have the ability of turning it off, wiggling around a little bit with the bias towards front and rear, making sure that the ABS doesn't go in prematurely on one of the sides because the bias is wrong, right? So let's have a look at a little bit how ABS technology has developed. This here is an ABS 2.0, 1985 technology. This is what you have in the 964 originally. It is a huge piece. It is a 3-channel system, meaning that the rear wheels, they act as one unit. So whatever the left one does, the right one will do as well. That technology evolved. This is what you used in a 996. This is an ABS 5.7. Very common unit. Lots of cars out there in the industry has it. It's a 4-channel unit, meaning the 2 front wheels and the 2 rear wheels, they're all separate channels. You get a little bit more accuracy. You don't prematurely start locking up a wheel. This is what I was supposed to use and what I have discussed previously in my episodes. This is an ABS 8.0. This is what the Cayman has, for example. This one is from a Cayman. 4-channel ABS, really compact, slim, modern unit. This is what I found online for a reasonable price. This is an ABS M4 Motorsport ABS. It's still a 4-channel unit, as you can see. It's a more compact unit than what the Cayman has, for example. It has full CAN bus communication ability, meaning that I can actually get all the wheel speeds out on CAN bus. I can get the brake pressure. I can get a lot of information from the ABS into my little computer system that I have in my car. So this one, let's figure out how it fits over there. The original ABS sits in this area here, which in my car will not work because I have a fuel cell just in this area here and it fills up all of this space. Hydraulic lines from the pedal box comes through this hole here because the pedal box is just down there. The lines then will go out through this hole and then it distributes over the car. I'm going to try to use the original lines from this point back using a connection piece here from the 993 RS. Because the 993 RS has a 4-channel setup. They did figure out that 4 channels is better than 3. And that connection piece, it just fits there, so I'm going to reuse that. Meaning that the ABS will go somewhere just about there. The mounting bracket that it comes with has a shape in this direction. That will not work, so I will have to do something that probably fits in this direction to get really a slick fit on this one. So I'm going to design up something to do there. Then the challenge is how am I going to get the brake lines out from here? And in addition to that, I need to figure out how to get some brake pressure sensors and a brake light sensor. So let's figure out something for this. So here's my idea. I need to get from the pedal box out to the ABS. I need to find a safe, nice way to get through this little bulkhead here. I also need to fit a number of sensors. For example, I need a brake pressure sensor. The ABS needs this to work, and it needs to be mounted remotely from the ABS so it doesn't shake apart. We need a brake light switch as well. This is a hydraulic one that I'm going to put on the line. So what I did was I designed up this little piece here. So what this is just a bulkhead mounted piece where the brake lines come in here and then they go through the piece. I can put the sensors here and then I can take the brake out and go into the ABS. So this one will mount just there. I was really happy when I did this. Then I figured out that it's designed in a way that it will trap the air, so that absolutely doesn't work. So let's go back to the drawing board and try something else. And this is take 2 of the manifold design. So I did a new one. The problem with the old one was that brake pressure came in from one place and then it went out on the bottom. So if you get air into the system, it would get stuck in the top. So this one now, brake comes in here and then it goes out through the top. And there's going to be 2 bleeder screws in the top here as well. I also put 3 sensor locations on this one. And here's the concept. I need brake pressure for the ABS. It goes in there. I need a brake pressure switch so that the ABS knows that the pedal is pushed, and then I also need that for the lights in the car. And another brake pressure so that in my dash I will have brake pressure in the front line and in the rear line, and it will all go into the logger, and I'll be more clever and a faster driver in the end, understanding what I'm doing. So I have this one. It's now going to go right over there. I'm going to bolt it in place, hook it up on the other side, and then we figure out the last piece with the ABS here. Back with the pedal box, let's tidy up the last pieces. So as you can see, this plastic plate that I had previously as a mock-up has now been upgraded to an aluminum piece. And the way that this works is you go to your friend, my friend is called Simon, that has a water cutter, you give him the CAD file, and 30 minutes later, he gives you this back, and it is exactly what you put into the CAD file. So it's really super easy. What I did with mine was, I am a little bit worried about the flexibility in the floor, so I have added 2 more holes here. So as I get this finalized and I push as hard as I can, if I do sense any kind of flexibility, I'm going to reinforce it using these holes here. I will put the design of this plate up on my homepage if anyone is ever in the need of putting this kind of pedal box into a 964. Next question is, how do we get this connected with our little manifold block? Because as you might have understood, the manifold block sits just about up here, and this is really not more complicated than just taking a banjo screw like this with some pressed hoses. We could go with piping as well, but I went with hoses here. So not more than that. I wanted to show you something else. In my car, I also want to have a clutch signal. You have a clutch signal in the 964 pedal box already, but it doesn't fit here. So this is a hydraulic version of doing this. It actually mounts a sensor instead of the banjo screw. So you just put that in here, and this will continue to the clutch slave cylinder. Very easy, clutch signal here, done. I think that kind of concludes the pedal box part of it. We do need to mount the ABS and hook that up, so let's have a look at that. Last and maybe final piece with the ABS is then how to figure out how we can get this mount that absolutely doesn't fit in this car upgraded to this thing that I designed. So what I have done here is I just took the drawings for the M4 ABS and the mounting holes for this. I figured out a spot in the car that this would fit. I stole the rubber mount from one of the other ABSs I had lying around, and I put this together. So what this now means is I do have a mounting plate for the ABS. This is just a mock-up now. It's made out of PLA. It's not a very hard plastic. I'm going to print this out of carbon fiber later so that this is really sturdy. You can feel already now that this is really sturdy already, and definitely enough for this little piece. This is just above 1 kilo. But I'm going to print this out of carbon fiber regardless, just to be safe. And now with everything assembled, you see I have adapted it for the different offsets here. So the surface here is a little bit higher, here it's a little bit lower. So I've tried to do the best I can to adapt for all of that. So I'm gonna mark where this needs to be up, drill a few holes, mount it in place, put the cables there, and then we're done. With a little bit of work comes a little bit of progress, and I think we have made some progress. We got the mount in there nicely. I tapped some of these clinch nuts into the body in these 3 locations. I have the rubber mounts there. They still need to be pre-tensioned because it does still move a bit here. It will get a lot stiffer once I make this one out of carbon fiber as well. All in all, some people might say that it looks like it's supposed to sit there. I don't know. Manifold block sits in there just nicely. We have the 3 sensors. 2 of these sensors will go into the ABS. The other sensor will actually go into the dash. We have the hoses. You could do this with hard lines as well, but I did it with hoses. And there's going to be hard lines coming from here down into this hole and then distributing to the rest of the car. More work on this is needed, of course. Harnessing, wheel sensors, we have the yaw sensor, and then we have the dial in the dash that sets the strength of the ABS. A lot of cool stuff. But I think it's time for scoring time. And you got it, it's scoring time. So let's start with the pedal box from the original system, weighing in at 3.5 kilos. We have the master cylinder with the booster unit, which takes us up to 5.8. Then we got the accumulator that we need for this system to work, taking us up to 7.1. And then we have another 3 kilos on the high pressure pump that I don't have it here, unfortunately. I sold it to sponsor my project. It's 3 kilos. I weighed it before I let it go. That means the original system is 10 kilos. Not bad. And for the sake of accuracy, I am going to add in the ABS that I originally intended to use and that I accrued for in one of my other episodes. It's 2.2 kilos. It brings us up to 12.3 kilos for the original intended system. So all in all, 12.3 kilos, the whole heap of the old stuff, including ABS, master cylinder, all the good stuff. New system. Pedal box first with mounting plate weighing in at 4 kilos. Then the new ABS with little manifold. Of course, I have to take into account that the manifold will not be made of plastic. It will be made out of aluminum. And I am up to 6.2 kilos. I also need to add in the little bias adjuster here. This is the bias front rear for the master cylinders. This is actually the ABS strength, so I'll be able to adjust the strength of the ABS as well. I am at 6.3 kilos, meaning we have saved a total of 6 kilos. That's not bad. So all in all, what did we accomplish today? Well, we have a super lean motorsport system saving us 6 kilos. It is, however, muscle powered. And the way that you typically counter that is you have a little bit of more aggressive pads. Maybe I'll go for a little bit bigger discs. Let's see. We also have the ability now to adjust the bias. So I have some cool little dials to run in the front. One for the bias, one actually for the ABS strength, going all the way from off to more aggressive. We also have the ability now to get some telemetry from the ABS, wheel speeds, brake pressures, and so on. So all in all, this is much more purpose-oriented to what I wanted to do. It is also 6 kilos lighter. If you like what I'm doing here, subscribe to my channel. Next time around, we're going to do something else. Don't know what yet, but I'll see you then.